And I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's Monday, July 11th at 7:12 p.m. We've finally sorted out our technical difficulties, so this meeting's starting now. This is a meeting of the Wellfleet Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. The meeting is being recorded by the town. Anybody else desiring to record the meeting should please notify the chair and do so in a manner that does not disturb the meeting. I guess the Jim.
Not a lot of background noise.
Make sure that somebody has access to the waiting room in the event that we have any visitors.
Yeah, I did admit Gary, so it must be telling me, let's see.
Karen made me host, Gary, when Jim
Yeah.
called me, and then I made you co-host.
Yeah, okay, so we have two people that can deal with that. So, but
Are you
thank you,
hearing
Jim.
background noise right now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, that's from me.
Oh,
okay, that's all right. Okay, so first order of business before everything else is reorganization of the Board of Trustees. Because we're all reappointed as of July 1st. So that's what we need to do. Just a caveat about me. I think I told all of you about my present health challenges and the way it's manifesting itself is that I have daily appointments through the 28th of July, and they're in the morning, but they effectively wipe out half the day and are a little bit tiring. And then I'm gone July 30th through June 6th. So as a practical matter, I will have, a limited ability to contribute until the second week in June effectively. So you should take that into consideration. But we should have nominations for, let's select the chair first. So anybody care to nominate anybody for chair?
I nominate you, Harry.
Okay. As long as everybody understands the caveat, I'm certainly willing to do it.
I second.
Okay, is
Second.
any other nominations? Okay, we'll treat this as a motion to close nominations and elect the sole candidate. So we'll do roll call again. So Jim,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Sharon?
She's muted.
Yes, she is. While she's unmuting, Gary?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Thank
I'm
you.
Sharon.
Okay, that's 6 in favor, none opposed. Okay, let's see, I think we have a vice chair also.
Is
And
that Elaine?
I would renominate Elaine.
I'll second.
Is there any other nominations? No? Okay, so I'm going to move that nominations be closed and that we cast one vote for Elaine. All those in favor, Jim,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
and Gary.
Aye.
And the last one is treasurer. And I'm going to nominate Gary since he nominated me. Are there any other nominations?
I'll second that.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, so all those in favor of Gary, Jim,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Okay, so that's done. Okay, announcements and public comment. I have a few, but anybody else want to go first? No. I guess the first hearing on the 95 Lawrence Road comprehensive permit is this Thursday and is virtual, I believe. I had an email from Carl Sussman, who is associated with the Wellfleet Seasonal Residents Association. And they are putting on a housing forum on Monday, July 25th at 6:30 at the Adult Community Center. And they have asked me to speak primarily about the effect of, not so much the numbers, but the effect of housing. Yeah, I'll try and eat in between while somebody else is talking. I was all ready to dish stuff out and then Elaine called. So I have agreed to talk briefly about my experience staffing positions at town hall, and what we see all around us in terms of the way the housing shortage is sort of hollowing out the community. I'm not going to talk about numbers, and apparently they have arranged to line up some people to talk about the struggles they have had finding housing. I don't know if anybody else has been contacted to participate. So there's that. The Outer Cape Housing Group meets tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I believe. And the Local Housing Partnership meets Thursday at 4. So that's all I have. Anybody else?
Let me just ask, is the seasonal non-resident, I'm always struggling with their names, but the non-resident seasonal association, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Is that a hybrid meeting or is it in person only?
I believe it's going to be in person. I don't know about hybrid since,
Okay.
he called me directly to ask me to participate. Gary?
Okay,
No, I just want to comment that the governor did extend Zoom meetings through March of 2023 today, I believe.
That is,
I saw that.
That is good news if we can figure out how to run one.
Right, but I also think that the hearings for the 95 Lawrence petition is going to be Zoom.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I
did-
saw.
I did see that email. Other public comments, announcements?
Well, I have just one is on August 8th is our housing benefit featuring the Narrowland String Band.
Mhm.
And we really need to get behind this, guys. This is our major consciousness and fundraising event for the year. So can I ask that, Elaine, when will we have a new poster?
In a day or two, I think.
A day? So maybe if you could send it out to everybody, if they would really take the time and effort to
Mhm.
tell their friends and neighbors about it. Mike, I have a question for you. You think we can get SPAT to send it out and promote it? You're muted, Mike. Mike,
I would just contact Nancy O'Connell about that.
okay.
Do you have her email address? I can send it to you if you don't.
If you would, please, thank you.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that right now.
I will definitely post that on Facebook.
You will do
Yes.
that?
I'll be
Okay.
happy to do that once it's ready.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
Elaine, do you
Yeah.
think Stephen would be willing to be interviewed on like Omar?
Sure.
Sure.
Mhm.
I could try.
Well, Denya has a radio show.
You want to ask Danya, and I could ask Jim Rohr.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should,
Sure.
should I do that? Should it be one or the other or both?
Well, let's ask both and see, but let them
Okay.
know that we're asking both.
And
That's a great idea.
what about Ira Wood? Anyone want to reach out to him?
From the banner? I
No,
mean,
Ira from Omar.
oh, I will. Yeah.
What, asking him to promote it or,
Yes, promote it and see if he wants to do a story about it.
I'm not sure it fits his format, but we could certainly ask.
Right. Well, I had thought about having him, the communications group of Maurice's had thought about approaching him to see if it would fit his format to maybe do something on Maurice's and interview people, involved in that, but I don't know whether you think that's a good idea.
Sure, why don't you reach out to him? I'll reach out to Demore and you reach out to Denya. And we'll see who we can get.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, anything else on, I'm sorry.
I did discuss that, that event with Carl Sussman also, and he was aware of it. And so that's something I can mention when I speak to them on the 25th.
Yeah, we can have our posters there too. I can hand them
Mhm.
out. 'Cause I'll-
Okay,
I'll
great.
attend. I'm not speaking, but I'll attend. Yeah.
Mhm.
I have written an email to Carl asking if we can set up a sort of general housing table that would include information about Maurice's and 95 Lawrence and other things that we're doing. I haven't heard back from him yet, but
That's good, because I also talked with him about briefly outlining the irons we have in the fire and the
Yes.
ways in which people can help, and not just financially, but also, in kind. And we'll talk about the buy down program and so forth.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Harry, one more
Yes,
thing.
Yes,
But,
please.
just so that people know, Tracy Harmon Hayes show that's going to be up all August at Wellfleet Preservation Hall. A portion of the proceeds are to benefit the Wellfleet Affordable Housing Trust.
Oh, wonderful.
And as part of her artist statement, she talked about her own struggles when she first came with housing and their struggles with workers. So that's a
great.
really nice thing for her to do.
Mhm.
And then in addition to that, the farm project, Susie Nielsen and Robert Schriefter from Off Main are both planning housing oriented gallery exhibits in August and September.
Okay.
FYI.
Good. Oh, let's see. Next item is possible letter in support of the comprehensive permit for 95 Lawrence Road. I have cribbed significantly from the letter the Housing Authority approved, and I will pop it up on the screen right now. It is included in, there we go. Yeah, it is included in the materials I posted to
Yep.
Dropbox. So comments?
I thought it looked great.
Well, credit goes to somebody else because I just removed a couple spaces and a spurious comma and
That's
changed the
okay.
signature line.
In the case of full disclosure, the partnership letter looks strangely the same.
I saw that. Okay, well, can we have a motion to approve this draft? And I will get it to somebody. Mallory? Or is that
No, it would go to Christine Bates.
Chris Bates? Okay.
I move to approve the letter to the ZBA as drafted.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay, Jim seconded. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. So roll call vote. Jim,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 6 in favor, none opposed.
Actually, Harry, it probably would be a nice idea to send it to Mallory also, just
Yeah,
FYI.
I thought I would do that just so she'd know. She's been trying to have a conversation with me and it just hasn't worked out. So that'll be a good intro. Community Preservation Act bonding. Do you want to talk about this, Gary? We had a conversation with Stuart Saginaw and Jeff Sachs. A couple Wednesdays ago, I guess. Yeah. And some of my concerns about whether we needed to do a survey to delineate the area to be restricted have been resolved, but do you have anything you'd like to say about this, Gary, or?
Sure, I can give you an update.
Okay,
It's Ryan's intention to ask the select board, I think tomorrow, for approval to submit an application for $1 million of support
Mhm.
for the Maurice campground to the CPA. And so with that, there was actually an email today that his $1 million is based upon a carve out of approximately 3 acres. And that 3 acres is not adjacent to Route 6, but just behind Route 6 and adjacent to the store.
Mhm.
It's on the other side of the property from where the cabins are. And I think that the question is, that will have to, if we go forward with it, that will have to go through an appraisal process
Mhm.
based upon the information we received from the state. And we have actually someone who can do the appraisal. For that 3 acres, the cost is $2,000.
I'm curious as to who that is.
We had sent them a number of names that we received from Stuart Saginaw and Jeff Sachs. I don't know who it is, but you could, I'll forward you the Rich Waldo email, Harry,
Oh, okay.
that talks about that. But with respect to that, I think the only source of that $2,000 is likely to be the trust.
Okay, well, we have an authorization already in place.
Right. So I wonder if we don't need to vote on it, but if we would just verbally, we would be willing to incur the cost of $2,000 for the appraisal to support the CPA application.
Anybody have a concern about that? No? Because the way the vote was the treasurer with the concurrence of either the chair or the vice chair can spend that money for those purposes. And you certainly have my concurrence.
Good. I'll forward it to you, Harry, just to dot
Yep.
the i's and cross the t. If you would
Sure.
approve that and send it back,
Yep.
that'd be great.
Okay.
So I think the other thing with respect to that is we had a very brief conversation with Lisa, who's doing the accounting for the CPA,
Yep.
the year to, not the year to date, from the beginning of time
Yeah.
to the
Yep.
current. And it may make more sense, Harry, for us to consider a large grant, maybe not $1 million, but a large grant in lieu of $1 million of bonding, because one, we incur the cost of that, and two is that the carrying cost is in excess of 50%.
Mhm.
So it might make sense for us to give an outright grant to the select board, to the town for the
Okay.
purchase, as opposed to actually go through a bonding effort. Do you have an opinion on it?
I guess one concern I have is whether we are going to have to fund a community contribution for 95 Lawrence Road. Because right now, my back of the envelope kind of calculations is we've got about maybe $800,000 in, if you consider the balance in the old housing trust estimated, the donations estimated, and $500,000 from last year's annual town meeting. That's the only thing I'm sure of. There may be more, who knows? And I guess the question is, if the local contribution request for the 95 Lawrence Road project is going to come to the Community Preservation Committee, then I'd certainly think we should entertain using our resources for this project. if it's going to come to us, then we have a different discussion, I think.
So Harry, just in terms of time frame, I don't know the amount, they're getting ready, POA and CDP are
Mhm.
getting ready to do their pre-application submission
Yep.
to DHCD in the fall. And I said, they must have a number then if they're getting ready to submit a budget. And I said that the deadline for CPA applications for this year would be July 15th, that we wouldn't make a grant of money until another grant of money until July 1st of 2023.
Mhm.
And they said, that's okay, we can live with that. So
Okay.
there's nothing short term. The other thing I just want to, one caveat, Harry, we already spent 185,000 of the 500,000 on the buy down.
Yes, yes.
We don't have 500,000 to
So
apply.
I've been working with, we have approximately $500,000 that I'm relatively sure of.
Oh, good. Have you actually seen a number?
No, I haven't. This
Oh.
is just what I have been able to infer from the crumbs that I have seen.
Okay.
So that's still, and I did check with the town accountant last time I was in town hall, and he said, well, that's at least a Suve number. And
Right.
question, I don't know.
Right. I asked the same question.
So,
So anyway, the answer to the question is, when we get Lisa's report of unexpended CPA funds, we'll make a determination and understand that in next year, we will have another round of CPA receipts,
mhm,
both those from the town, approximately 500,000 plus, as well as from the state. Have no idea what that will be, but let's call it 150,000. So there should be money available next summer.
mhm. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And as long as it's not, immediately require an immediate decision, we can deal with it when the question arises.
Right. So I think the proper,
Sorry, when that comes before the select board, when we make the request, we should probably leave it open-ended when there's a motion, so we don't, we're not too specific then.
right. I told Ryan he should make it either or,
Okay,
either a grant or a request for bonding, and that
Okay.
we would make some determination as to what makes the most sense collectively.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else on this? Okay, next item is we have a proposal from CDP to monitor accessory dwellings. And let me see if I can locate that. It was among the things I sent you. And let me see if I can find my copy of it now. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Okay, so here's the document. It's been kicking around for a while. But originally it referenced affordable accessory dwelling units and was recast to just reference ADUs. I guess a question I have is whether there are existing ADUs that need monitoring.
I feel like there's been applications, but I don't know for sure. We'd have to ask the building inspector.
I mean, there's the one that that we created last summer, or, it's been rented since January, which
Mhm.
is an ADU. It's not titled an affordable accessory
Mhm.
dwelling unit, although the rent is actually
Mhm.
affordable. But I think that the homeowners really don't have the appetite to go through the paperwork and stuff, but they are happy to maintain a year-round lease. And so that's one that I know about. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but don't we have to offer an incentive for the creation? Because I think there are two different things going on here. One of them is the property owner complying with the terms of the ADU bylaw and that the property's rented for a minimum 12-month period? And then there's the second question of, are we going to offer a subsidy for creating ADUs, in which case we need to monitor compliance with the terms of our subsidy? And we really haven't got to the finish line on that.
No, so I I totally hear what you're saying. I think, when it's that what I've heard from this body here is that, we really can only be subsidizing or incentivizing or whatever the affordable accessory dwelling units, and that's fine.
Mhm.
And so, but when you preface this conversation, you said, was it all ADUs? Or so, maybe we just want the CDP to monitor the ADUs as they exist. I don't know.
Sure. We deleted the ADU bylaw, so they're all actually ADUs, but what we were talking about, I believe, was to subsidize it if people agreed to rent it at the affordable criteria. for
No,
HUD.
I understand that. Yes.
So I think it's still an ADU that we would be subsidizing, and it wouldn't be through the AADU. I'm just basically clarifying that it wouldn't be through the AADU bylaw because that doesn't exist anymore. So anyone
Oh,
who's,
I understand that. Yes.
okay,
I guess my question is, don't we have to reach a decision for to what extent we're going to subsidize someone who wants to create an ADU, and how long we're going to expect an affordable restriction in exchange for that subsidy? And that's the program that I thought we were going to be monitoring.
That was
Mike?
my understanding as well.
Okay. You still have your hand up, Mike? Or is that-
yeah, I just was
Go ahead.
trying to remember, I think we had talked about sort of like what the difference is in monthly rent kind of from market rate. Like what would it take for it to be worth somebody's while to commit to renting it at the affordable rate, I guess? And what is a number that the trust would be, willing to put on it?
Well,
You know-
I think in round numbers, we talked about a cash grant of, say, $10,000 in exchange for some term that it would be rented affordably, 3 years or 5 years. I don't know, we settled on something specific, as opposed to subsidizing the rent of a tenant who met affordable guidelines, which is another alternative.
Right. No, I remembered it being the first.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting thing. And I think you might bring some people out of the woods to rent affordably, especially given, I think that the rates at which ADUs, the rent level, the acceptable rent level from HUD has risen significantly. Am I wrong in that?
I think it has gone up, Sharon.
No, I think that's correct, yeah. I don't know exactly what the numbers are. But just to try and frame the debate, shouldn't we be deciding what our program is going to be before we hire somebody to monitor it?
Yes.
I mean, that's
Agreed.
kind of where I ended up when I started thinking about this.
Yeah. I mean, I think I remember like kind of landing on this sort of flat number for a certain amount of years. And I don't think we went any further than that, but maybe we should at this point sort of talk about how long a term that would be. And I guess,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I
Sharon?
I think anything we can do at this point to try to create some housing quicker than 5 years
Mhm.
is worth it. I mean, this proposal right here was kind of based on that the town was doing a very bad job of monitoring the AADUs, and that was the
Yes.
concern, that was the concern also. It sounds like it's a little better, but I'm not sure that, you know, this is separate from giving that subsidy. to
Right.
create one.
well, so Harry,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh,
was just
so,
Go
sorry
ahead.
about that. I just did the math on that. So if it were a $10,000 grant and it was over 5 years, that would be the equivalent of about $160 a month for the
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
landlord.
Yep.
$160 a month over 5 years. That would, and I don't know what the difference is between what people would rent and if they were going to rent it, you know, for something close to, you know, what the HUD number is, then it might incentivize people, but yeah, I'm not sure if that's enough really to actually incentivize people.
I
Okay,
think the HUD number is so high that this is almost like low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
probably true.
Yeah, and these are small units that we're talking about. They're not going to command really high rents to begin with.
No.
Gary?
Just to put in perspective is that we already have a rental assistance program where we give a grant, let's just say on average of about $400 a month. So that would be roughly $5,000 a year, or $10,000 would cover 2 years. So if someone were willing to rent it affordably, even if the affordable number is high,
Mhm.
for 2 years in exchange for an upfront 10,000,
Yep.
that actually is a pretty good deal for them and a very minor administrative burden for us.
Mhm.
And if it would actually sway somebody to do it, I don't think so, but I think it's likely that people who are already willing to do it or planning to do it would get something of a offset from that $10,000. So I would say if we could give an earn-out grant of $10,000 if they rented it affordably for whether it's 2 or 3 years, we can discuss, but and at the end of which it'd be forgiven.
I think 2 years is too short, personally.
Right.
Too short for what?
I think it should be at least 3 years if you're gonna give them $10,000.
I agree.
I don't have any problem with 3 years.
Elaine?
I think both the CDP and HAC have a program. Can we just
Mhm.
base ours on theirs and jive with it? I mean, so
Mhm.
somebody in Wellfleet could conceivably get up to $30,000. They could tap into CDP's program, HAC's program, and if we did one, ours, if they lived in Wellfleet. So I think if we could get copies of what kind of agreements and what time frame they're doing, it might make sense to try to match that.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Well, let me just suggest that we should be doing some homework
Yeah.
Yep.
on that. And then we should come back and consider both establishing a program and at that point, talking about monitoring compliance. We should probably take into consideration, I know that, I guess it was CDP had a cap on how many grants they were willing to make. Um, We should probably do that as well because our resources are not unlimited. But that's more of a detail than the basic concept. So can we deputize somebody to see if they can acquire these documents? So
I'm
somebody would
happy to
like,
work with someone on this. I'm not
Mhm.
very good at this particular kind of
Mhm.
outreach and organization, but I'm happy to work with someone else who
Mhm.
might be better at it.
I'd be happy to work with Sharon.
Okay, okay. Well, let's leave this there for now. And, let's see. Elaine, do you want to update us on 90 Freeman Ave since I asked you to look into
Sure.
that?
Yeah, I did meet with Rebecca twice, and she had thought there were some small outstanding questions, which I think we had communicated, but I did that again. KP Law had two minor questions.
Mhm.
And then Rebecca wasn't clear on KP Law saying they were preparing a deed for the Wellfleet Housing Authority. So she just wanted to check on that. And then we should be able to plug in dates and get it
Mhm.
going.
Okay. Well, that's real progress and yeah, because the property's never been deeded to the housing authority.
Right.
And I
And-
did,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, in the past, before we got so much more active in recent years, the housing authority did have to use their own lawyer to do a thing like
Mhm.
it and stuff like that, but the town has kind of stepped up in a way and been willing to do a few things like that. Katie did point out that the housing authority was, a separate entity from the town, but
Mhm.
it's, still
Well,
willing to do that.
And if it really became an issue, I would be willing to pay the negotiated rate the town has with KP because it's lower than what you might pay in a transaction with a private attorney. But I intentionally did that to see if they would step up and provide legal advice.
Mhm.
So I'm
They
glad
did.
that they did.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about that? No. Elaine, you're still up. Housing production plan.
Okay, we got a grant from the Cape Cod Commission for $25,000 to hire a consultant to do a new 5-year housing production plan.
Mhm.
We got 3 excellent proposals from consultants, and
Mhm.
I reviewed them with Becky. And the town is going to contract with JM. They've offered the contract to the JM Goldson firm, which is a very strong firm. They were the lowest price of the 3 that offered the level of service that we're hoping to get, especially with the robust community engagement process. JM Goldson is currently almost done doing Truro's housing production plan. They sent me the visuals from their community meeting they had. They were really excellent and they got really, really high marks, especially for their community engagement, focus groups, and interviews. So we feel positive about that. Working with Rebecca, I had suggested at our housing authority meeting, that we take the lead, but that we don't do it as the housing authority, but we have a small working group, which I would be happy to take the lead on, but maybe ideally one person from each of our housing groups, since we have our sort of Wellfleet housing identification hats on now. So if someone was from the trust was willing to be part of a small working group, that would be great. The main
What do
thing,
you, I was going to say, what do you anticipate the commitment's going to be in the next 4 weeks?
yeah, well,
I have to ask.
Right, the next 4 weeks would probably really just involve one meeting with the consultants to kind of lay out the time frame. I did finally get their proposal in digital form, so I can send it to everybody
Okay,
to look at.
okay,
but I didn't get that till today. An initial meeting, Becky is going to serve as the staff liaison, so she will attend whatever
Mhm.
meetings we have. And the main thing that Truro said that they had to do was help recruit people for the focus groups and the interview process, and then to help schedule spaces when they were for their community engagement forums.
well,
that-
I think that that's something that's within my ability to commit to.
That's wonderful.
So I'll be happy to help you with that.
That's great, Harry. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Elaine, just as an aside, I mislabeled it on the agenda, but the housing study is on the agenda. It says MHP, it's actually the county.
Okay. All right. That's great.
Well,
Thank you, Harry.
my agenda just says housing production plan without attribution.
Mhm.
So,
But it's on the agenda for that partnership to
oh,
select
okay,
somebody on Thursday.
okay. Well, the only other thing I have is a whole slew of minutes, most of which are minutes that say we didn't do anything.
That's good because Kathleen.
I approve them all.
Okay,
Yay.
because I think the only one of any substance might be the May 9th
May
one,
not, right?
Yep.
but if there are no corrections, or if there are corrections, I'll take them.
There were so
Yeah.
many of them. I did see one minor typo, but I don't think it's very embarrassing. And I
Okay, well, you wouldn't be the one
can't even
embarrassed
remember where
anyway.
it is.
You wouldn't be the one embarrassed anyway.
No.
Okay, well, can we have a motion to take care of all 4 of these sets of minutes?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I'm gonna stop sharing on this if I can get my computer to cooperate. Okay. Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 6 in favor, none opposed. Future meeting agenda items and next meeting date.
Sharon brought to our attention a tax credit.
Yes.
I hesitate to use the word scheme, but program that they're doing where in Nantucket,
Yep,
Sure.
Nantucket Housing.
right? That I think is worth our taking a look at, see if we can replicate that.
I
Yeah.
reached out to Bruce Beerhands today and he's away from the office, but he responded anyway. And he said that you would need a 501(c)(3) corp. I don't know
Yeah.
if we have that or not.
So that was the
But-
question, was
Yeah.
could the town's trust be eligible for that credit or not?
I looked at the statute today. It's a community investment tax credit. Is the full name of it. And it entitles the donor to get half of his or her money back from the state, either in the form of a credit against taxes, or if your tax burden is not high enough, to actually get a check back.
Or you live in another state. Yeah.
Even if you live, yeah, and if you live in another state, you can make the donation. The only cap I was able to find is that the cumulative cap for this year can't exceed $10 million. But I looked at the DOR's technical memos on this, and they had examples that had donations of $18,000, $20,000 in there. So it's the only requirement in the statute is the donation has to be more than $1,000. So I think it's not, what's not clear to me is exactly what you've been talking about, is whether the town's affordable housing trust can meet the requirements as a donor organization, or whether we'd have to do something like what Nantucket has done by creating a separate corporate entity, which would involve some expense. And also the statute requires that you have a pretty comprehensive plan of what you're going to do with the money. You can't just say, yay, we're for housing, give us money. So there's a little bit more to it than that. But I think it's a good tool. CDP does it also, I believe.
They do, yes.
So I think it's worth pursuing. I did indicate to Gary when he raised the issue to me that I didn't think I would have the ability to make the time commitment over the next month. Hopefully after that, I'll be free of these obligations.
Well, it strikes me that if in fact we can do this, if we had a fall tax bill mailing,
Mhm.
and we could include something like this, we might garner some significant contributions, but it all hinges on whether we can do it, whether the town can accept that and meet the criteria.
I wonder if
Well,
we
and
can
if
find.
it can't, then what do we need to do to make
Right,
it possible?
right. But
We'd
that's a
have
big,
to, yeah. We'd have to create a separate organization, a separate entity like Nantucket Housing or the CDP to do it.
so Harry,
Yep.
if you can't look at it, and maybe we just put it on the back burner for 30 days, but is it worth asking town council? that
It's worth asking town council. It's also worth calling the DOR and asking out and out whether municipal affordable housing trust can serve as the vessel for this. I don't know whether.
Do you want me to, or?
Hmm?
Do you want to do that, or do you want me to?
If you would please, I'd appreciate it.
Can you just send me the correct citation, Harry?
I will.
I'll be glad to do that.
Okay.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, guys, because it just seems like we should leave no stone unturned.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Anything else for future meetings?
Can we go over the Maurice's campground purchase? I have received a number of questions, both about liability, when does the money have to be paid in full? Is there any holdback?
I would, there's nothing in the purchase and sale agreement that would allow the town to, hold back funds based on the happening of some future event. It's not like a building contract where you retain 5% of every payment against a final punch list and acceptance. Typically with a real estate transaction, you get a deed and you write a check, and that all happens at once. So I would say no holdback, and everything would be, all the cash would be due at the time of closing. So this November or October.
So I think one of the questions, Gary and I had talked about this outside, just us two. If we find that we're not able to get any like septic waivers,
Mhm.
for example, and is there any avenue for us to renegotiate? Because we won't know that necessarily until after the closing, because that's part of the deal.
We won't know it until after town meeting, but we should know it before closing. And if the answer is the Board of Health is unwilling to give us the waiver we want, then we have to go back to the sellers and say the condition of the deal is not met. We either have to terminate the deal unless there is an accommodation we can reach to change the deal.
Okay, that helps.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
But once we accept the deed, if we haven't closed that loop with the Board of Health, then we are at the subject to whatever the Board of Health does without any recourse against the sellers.
Right, right. So it has to happen between town meeting and
Yeah.
the closing.
And actually, that was the intention when the deal was negotiated, but that's not what the contract says literally. Whoever drafted that section didn't quite get it right. So technically, I think the agreement would not preclude us from going to the Board of Health before town meeting, but that certainly was not the intention when the deal was negotiated.
Mhm. Okay.
And there is a working group meeting this Friday at noon
Yes.
at the Adult Community Center.
What I was asking is that we put it on the agenda for.
Yep.
future.
Yep. Yep, I've generally been willing to treat that under status reports, but we'll put a specific agenda item. Anything else for agenda items you can think of right now? You can always email me later. What about a date?
Not the 8th.
No, please.
Not the 8th. Okay, that's good because it will be difficult, since I will be out of town until the 6th, it will be difficult for me to post an agenda.
What about the
Oh.
15th?
15th,
The 15th is a Monday, I think.
just trying to check the tide here.
I may be away. But that's fine. I mean,
Yeah,
May 2nd.
15th, I can do the 15th.
okay. And just, if we can't straighten out this Zoom thing, because I hate to ask somebody who works from 8 to 4 to log in the middle of dinner to start a meeting for us.
Really.
I think in this case, Harry,
Yeah,
Karen did it from home.
yeah,
Nevertheless,
nevertheless,
you
yeah.
should be off.
Well, I've in the past been able to start the meetings with Rebecca's thing, but I don't know what the deal is. That's only happened once.
Apparently, in sometime in April, Zoom changed their security protocols to require this one-time code each time. Each
Okay.
time it gets a login from a location it doesn't recognize. So I don't know if I snuck into Town Hall and used Town Hall's Wi-Fi, whether it would work or not. So
Does the code change then?
Yeah, it's only good for a minute or two.
Okay,
Yeah, it's basically like dual authentication,
Yeah.
you know, so you get a code and you have to put that code in.
right.
Yeah, and it gets sent to Rebecca, so I will explore that with her tomorrow. But there is a small chance that we may be talking about meetings at a different time of day, just to let you know.
Okay.
I'd like to avoid that because I know some of you are busy during the day. Anything else?
No.
Okay. How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Second.
Okay, roll call. Jim,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Sharon,
aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 6 in favor, none opposed. This is the shortest meeting we've ever had. It's actually less than an hour.
I thought it was gonna be super long because of all those things you had on the agenda.
Well,
It's great.
it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
We're getting better. Okay, have a good evening, everybody. Thank you for
Yeah.
jumping in at the last minute and
Thank you,
bearing with
Harry.
us. Take care.
Take care,
Thank you,
everybody.
Harry.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye now.
Aye.